Jonathan Reeves here with another Vectorworks video. Now today we're going to look at how to model complex roof forms using the subdivision tools. And this is really interesting in that we can create shapes that are very hard to do in other ways, some quite complicated shapes, and these are actually all really quite straightforward and easy to do using the amazing subdivision tool in Vectorworks. So I really do hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go up and create a subdivision primitive from the model menu. We're going to go up and create, I think we'll go for a circle to start with, and let's type in 6 meters for our size. We can check out the different subdivision iterations, but let's leave that on 3 for now, and we'll click OK. And that'll basically place what is a circular subdivision primitive object in our model. The beauty with subdivisions is we can now click on the cage or the edges that define these shapes, and you can see I'm just simply moving this edge up by 1 meter on each edge. So let's have a quick spin around with the fly round tool, and you can see I've created what looks like a really nice sort of almost bowl or dish type element. Now the beauty is I can actually stretch this object really dynamically in any direction. So let's just sort of stretch it in that direction, elongate it a little bit here. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go to the convert menu, and we're going to convert this shape to a generic solid. We get a little dialog popping up, but basically what we can now do, which is really neat, is we can go to our shell tool and we can basically highlight the faces, and we can put in a thickness for our shell thickness, click the green tick, and you'll notice basically we've actually sort of given the object a solid shell or thickness, and it looks really, really cool already. So this is a really sort of easy way to model quite complex shapes, starting off with something quite straightforward really. Now I'm just going to flip this around so it's more like a roof. So I've just in front view rotated it around. I'm just going to drag on a nice looking sort of texture just so you can see how lovely this looks with a bit of grain and texture on it as well. So yeah, really, really nice sort of way to model. Basically I just want to show you a couple of extra things here. I'm just going to move that model and basically draw a circle. So let's tab in the size that we would like. Let's make it a little bit smaller actually. Basically, let's go for 1 meter. And in 3D, I'll just extrude that circle through the shape. It's in there somewhere actually. So let's just type in Command E from the model menu, extrude, and let's bring it up, I don't know, a couple of meters or something. I'll select both shapes. Now I'm going to go and do a solid subtraction. So when I click OK, Vectorworks will essentially subtract that solid. But the really nice thing is now I can, if I want to, double click into the shape or click Edit Solid, copy those 2 shapes that I had, and then when I come back out I can actually paste them in place. So essentially I've got those 2 shapes again. Now this time I can intersect the solids, and what I get left with is the bit that would fit into the middle, and you can clearly see that if I was to go in and change the texture. So let's search for some glass, for example. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of find this glass, and we'll drag that, let's go for some nice blue glass, onto the shape. So you can kind of see the glass there fitting into the hole. That looks really, really cool. So this might be a big roof light or something in our roof. Here's a little tip though. I would like to do a bit on this ring here. So what I've done is clicked Command X. I've removed the shape just for a second. I've extracted a surface, and then I'm just going to do the same process and shell it. And again, let's give it a bit of a kind of grey colour maybe. I thought I'd extrude it, but that's okay. So now I can basically just paste back in the glass, and you begin to sort of see that, particularly when we're in the side view. And we've got a nice little kind of metal frame around the opening. So it looks really, really cool. The final little touch on this model is I'm going to use the fillet tool. And I'm just kind of selecting all the various edges. A little tip here is to use the B key to select that last edge, move that palette there. Let's put the fillet radius in here. We'll go for about 100 mil and click the green tick here just to round off that edge of that roof, just to soften it up. So yeah, it's a really interesting sort of roof form. I'm really quite pleased with that. It's been nice and easy to model using this approach. So let's move on to creating something else on another layer. I'm just going to create another layer called Roof 2 and disable that first layer. And I'll go back to top plan and just kind of start again really with our model, create subdivision primitive, and let's just drop down to, let's go for a ring this time. We'll just accept those default parameters there. And you can see it's almost like a donut, like a circle with a hole. And the good thing about this is we can select these edges, more than one edge, and we can raise them up again. So let's do the same with these edges. Now, because this is a bit more complex than our other shape, we've got you know, more kind of potential. Let's raise those up by, say, maybe a meter as well, 1m, hit return. Now, I'd also like to take this vertex here, and I'm going to pull that down. So I'm going to go down a meter on that particular vertex. So the good thing with subdivision modeling is you can select the faces, the edges, or the points, or the vertexes. So again, just in a few seconds, I've created a really kind of complex, multifaceted sort of curvaceous form. Looks really nice. So what we'll do now is we'll have a quick look at it, and then we'll do the same process. We'll convert it to a subdivision, sorry, a generic solid. Click OK, fine. So what we'll do now is we'll tap the space bar and we'll bring up these new sort of on-demand tools, if you like. And I really like this new way of working, particularly for the 3D tools. So once again, I'm going to get my shell solid tool, going to go ahead and give that really complicated form a shell thickness, essentially. And yeah, just for fun, let's just drag on another texture just to see how cool this looks. And you can see, you know, the textures I'm using, really nice quality. I'm actually making another texture pack library, so do watch out for that. I've already got one on my website you can purchase, but I'll be making a really nice new one soon. So yeah, what do you think, guys? I think that looks really nice, and it was really just modeled with a few simple clicks. So it's just really to show you subdivision modeling might be something you would consider for future projects. Let's go ahead and make another layer. I fancy just showing you a few more different sort of options here. So again, once again, we'll go to the model menu, down to create subdivision. And I think this time we'll just go for a triangle. Let's click OK and drop that into the middle. So it's obviously a really quite a simple shape. So, you know, not a lot of edges or points, but let's take this point and we'll move this up by, just go for a meter again. Click on that one and let's move that down a meter. Minus a meter, so just tab in -1 meter, and do the same on this other vertex as well. Just click on that blue axis, -1 meter. So again, really simple, almost like a bit of folded paper really, or tensile structure. So when you're modeling these kind of things, they're quite hard to do with other techniques. Let's go once again to convert to generic solids. We could have used convert to mesh actually, NURB, sorry, that would have worked too. And let's go once again and use our shell tool. I love the shell tool so much, as you can see. Let's click tick, and basically we've got a bit of thickness in there. So, you know, if this kind of thing was made out of concrete or something, that's really a really nice, elegant way to do it. Now, I thought it'd be fun with this one because it's a triangle. Let's click and center it. I'm going to get my rotate tool, rotate and duplicate. I'm just going to kind of rotate a few copies. So we'll grab this edge, snap it round and rotate that one. Let's click our select both rather, get our rotate tool again, and let's just rotate those two this time. So we'll kind of get that corner down there. If we need to, we can zoom in a bit, but that's fine. Yeah, it's looking interesting. And then the last two, this time I will zoom right in, click, and let's go all the way out to, I think probably, let's just get that edge again. Here we go, that's it, nice and accurate, and then round we go up to that point. You can click the Z key if you need to super zoom in, by the way. So that looks really, really cool. A little bit of an overlap there, but that's probably because the initial size and geometry wasn't quite right. We're nearly there though, in terms of our concept. So I think what we'll do is we'll apply a bit of a texture, select all of that. What would be a nice texture for this? I've got something in a previous project, perhaps like a metal texture. Let's go for some galvanized metal. So you can see it's a very effective way to make super complicated shapes and roofs just by breaking it down and thinking about duplicating or repeating this in a few simple shapes. Now with a bit more work I could easily patch up those gaps and those seams. There'd probably be like a standing seam or something there as well. Okay, great. So let's go on. I think this is going to be the final little example here of subdivision complex shapes for roofs. So let's go ahead and just start with something as basic as a square. So when we click, basically, you could draw that with a 2D shape, but the beauty with subdivision is we can again get these vertexes. They're both selected and we can raise them up. Again, let's choose that 1 meter as a default. There we go. Let's select this edge, grab a point there, just hold shift down and select both points. Let's move those down about 1 meter. I really like the sort of smoothness and the speed of this type of modelling. It's definitely a different technique to extruding and other forms of Vectorworks modelling, but I think once you get into it, it's extremely nice, and we can basically shell this shape. Look at that, really, really cool. Okay, so with this particular one, I think what I want to do is have 2 different surfaces. So I'm going to click on the top surface and just extract another NURBS curve rather. And then I'm just going to once again give it a bit of a shell thickness. That's a bit too much, so I can go to Object Info. I could just adjust that shell thickness to say 10 mil. Now that gives me a really nice skin essentially. You can see when I drag off. So this is great. This means that I can apply a couple of different types of texture to my model. So that's all you need to do. If you want different surfaces, just extract surfaces and give them a bit of a shell thickness. Just trying to think what to use on the bottom there. I think we'll go for that kind of material there, some concrete just dragged on. So yeah, imagine that as a sort of almost like a kind of shell formed concrete type roof with a nice bit of timber cladding on top. Looks really, really cool, but I can't really think of another way to model that as easily as you can in Vectorworks. So, I do hope you've enjoyed this new technique for subdivision modelling in Vectorworks. There's a lot more to learn, but this is definitely something I would recommend. And we'll just mirror that across a few times. That looks really cool. Okay, so let's take the central one and just mirror that one again one more time. And you can see by piecing these together, you can generate even more complex type of geometries. It's the kind of thing that Zaha Hadid would be pretty proud of, I think. So, I love this kind of modelling, and I really hope you've enjoyed this. I'd really encourage you to experiment with subdivision tools. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.